Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Today our topic is boxing COX. The play, the force. You know it is by John Madison Morton. It is a force. Now we have to perform today the tournament exercises, which include comprehension, reference to context, character analysis, and character analysis. Yes, dear students. Hope you are online. Why does Caucus want Mrs. Bouncer to change his roster? You know, because he used a bulging bolster or cushion. It was not a nice one. You couldn't sleep comfortably. Second question. Who does Caucus suspect in using his stuff? Quote evidence from the play to support your answer. Yes, Caucus suspected Mrs. Bouncer in using his stuff. In using his Caucus suspects that lady Mrs. Bouncer was using his stuff. Now question number third. Why does Caucus say this gentleman smoke instead of emulating the example of all the other sorts of smoke? And going up the chimney thinks proper to effect a singularity by taking the contrary direction. Uh, he means that Mrs. Bouncer smokes secretly. She stated that the gentleman in the attic is hardly ever without a pipe in his mouth, but she commits an error when she says the gentleman is smoking his pipe with his feet on the mantelpiece. This makes Caucus say in surprise how the gentleman's smoke takes in opposite direction towards him instead of going up the chimney. Now question number 4. How is Mrs. Bouncer's idea of renting out the same room to two sets of lodgers a capital idea? A nice question. Renting out the same room to two sets of lodgers is a capital idea because neither of the two lodgers knows the other. She is getting double rent for her single room, so it is beneficial for her. Now question number 5. As soon as Caucus leaves the room, Mrs. Bounce gets busy in the room. Why does she do and what does she do and why? You know, she puts Mr. Cox things out of Mr. Bucks's way. She takes the 3 hats, Cox's dressing gown and slippers, opens the door at the left, puts them in. She then shutters the door, closes the door and locks it. She removes Cox's things to ensure that Buckles doesn't happen to see in any of them. She also makes the bed in such a way that the head of the bed for Mr. Cox becomes the foot of the bed for Mr. Buck. Yes, question number 6. Who is Buckus angry with as he enters? Why? Buckus is angry with the man with whom he collides on the staircase. He has come after finishing his night duty. He is exhausted and what sleep he had in exchange of words with the man on the stairs. Yes, question number 7. When Bacchus returns to his room in the morning, he is, select options, cheerful, exhausted, energetic. Correct. He is exhausted because he has come from his night duty. Now, question number 8. Why does Bacchus feel agitated when he starts cooking his breakfast? Because he can't find his things like matchbooks, etc. etc. Question number 9. Why does Caucus come home early? What has he got for breakfast? He has uh, he has come home early because his boss, his employer, uh, because his life didn't allow him as he was late has declared holiday. What did he get for breakfast? He got a mutton chop for his breakfast when he came back home early. Now, question number 10. Though both Bucks and Cox start cooking breakfast, neither of them gets anything to eat. Why? Because both throw each other's items for breakfast out of the window. Out of the window. Yes, dear students, now we have to perform character analysis. In the character analysis, we have Cox, Box, and Mrs. Bouncer. Extracts from the play and what they tell us about the character. I wish you distinctly understand what I don't believe it is the cat. It means saw. Likewise, we have to select sentences for being polite, for possessing a good sense of humor, etc. Likewise, for Bucks, short-tempered, rude, and firm, we have to select extracts from the play. Likewise, for Mrs. Bouncer, being ingratiating, clever, quick-witted, money-minded, we have to select sentences from the play. Yes. In short, we have to write the correct sketches of these three persons. First, let us take the correct sketch of Cox. Yes, dear students, you know this play is a farce. Uh, you know Cox is one of the two lodgers of Mrs. Bouncer. He's a hatter. He works in the daytime in a hat shop. He is polite. The barber has given him a bad haircut, but he doesn't lose temper. He decided not to have haircut again. He doesn't enjoy a comfortable sleep at night because he hasn't a good pillow. He requires Mrs. Bouncer to supply him a bigger and better pillow. He also invites the attention of her to the fact that his coals get consumed He never becomes rude. He complains about his room being full of smoke. Oh, he is a picture of politeness. He has a very good sense of humor. How? His talk with Mrs. Bouncer is laced with humor. He comments about his haircut in a very humorous way. For example, he thinks that he has been cropped for the militia or mowed like a lawn. He complains that his candles, wood, sugar, and matches are getting consumed very fast. When Mrs. Bouncer asks him if he suspects her, he adds in a he adds in a humorous way, the cat could not have taken them. His remark about the direction taken by the smoke is also humorous. For his politeness and humor, he is a very likable character. He seems to be the life of the play. Now, our second character is Bucks. He is the second male character of the play. He is also a lodger of Mrs. Bouncer. He works in a newspaper press. He goes for night duty. He does not come back home till the morning. He hardly meets Scott. He is a little short-tempered. He is rude. Mrs. Bouncer, Mrs. Bouncer puts Scott's things out of Mr. Box's way. She puts the key where the cox always finds it. Mr. Box smokes very frequently when he is off duty. Mr. Cox has complained to Mrs. Bouncer that he finds his room always full of tobacco smoke. Mrs. Bouncer tells him that he could not lose his that he should not lose his temper so soon. He tells Mrs. Bouncer to mind her own business. When Mrs. Bouncer tries to talk with him, he expresses his desire to go to bed. He desires her to leave his room. Mrs. Bouncer tells him not to smoke frequently. He tells Mrs. Bouncer to ask Cox to find accommodation elsewhere. He warns Mrs. Bouncer if she makes any attempt to stop him from smoking, he would leave her room and go elsewhere. It shows that he is very firm, rude, and ill-tempered. He is of the view that Mrs. Bouncer steals his coal, candles, and sugar. He quarrels with Cox, who appears to return from duty on account of a sudden holiday. There is an exchange of hot words between the two lodgers, each claiming to be the rightful lodger. By this, Mrs. Bouncer gets exposed. She explains to both how both of them are the lodgers of the same room. So the false display comes to end. Now, uh, something about the character of Mrs. Bouncer. Mrs. Bouncer was a landlady. She owned an apartment. She rented out one room to two tenants, two lodgers, namely Box and Cox. One was printer and worked at night. The other was a head maker and worked during daytime. Both did not meet each other. Thus, the clever woman was able to get two rents for one room. She was greedy. The nature of the jobs of tenants made it easy for her to deceive them, to cheat them. She got double the rent, but soon she had to face some problems. Actually, Mrs. Bonser did not do anything about of stealing or consuming their things. As soon as one lodger left, she removed his things out of the other tenant's sight. This created confusion. She was basically a good lady, but for a lust for money. But for a lust for money. For that, she gets humiliated. Yes, she gets humiliated. Oh, how nice she is, who is able to accommodate two tenants in one room through his cleverness or cunningness. We would we should give her credit for continuing to deceive two men. That is the credit of a woman. Yes, dear students, an important question. Let us narrate how Mrs. Bouncer befooled two tenants. Simple question but important question. Mrs. Bouncer had a lodging house. She rented the room with cupboards and beds to two tenants. Mr. Barkis and Mr. Cox. She did that very cleverly because the hours of duty of the two men were such that they could not be present in the room at the same time at the same hour. Mr. Box was a printer, Cox was a hat maker. Oh, they worked at opposite times of the day and hardly they saw each other. Oh, when their things got consumed, they suspected first Mrs. Bouncer. Then one day, one day, Mrs. Bouncer gets exposed that she rented out the room to two lodgers or two tenants. This exposed her lust for money. Yes, dear student, an important question. Bring out the theme of the play Bucks and Cox. You know, this play is based on the theme that is possible to create fun, to create enjoyment through exaggeration and ridiculous situations. Such situations are farcical. The play Bucks and Cox is a farce from the beginning to the end. Two men, two men are tenants and lodgers of the same room and do not know about it. It is a very impossible situation or unlikely situation. Cox is a very funny man. He wants to take a vow that he will never have his hair cut again. He says that barber has almost mowed his head. Oh, he has got a Malaysia cut. He complains about his pillow. Is also farcical. Before leaving for work, Mr. Cox puts on a hat which does not fit on his head. His complaint about the consumption of coal is also funny. He says there is an increasing evaporation of his candles, wood, sugar, mats. That is also a funny way of saying. Mrs. Bonser expressed the hope she is not suspected theft, such of theft of these things. But Cox says that Cox adds that it is not even the cat. This remark, it is also very funny. Cox further explains that finds the apartment full of tobacco smoke. Mrs. Bonser tries to explain, but Cox says smoke always moves upwards. How does it come downwards into my room? Mrs. Bonser keeps two lodgers in the same room by putting Cox's things out of Mr. Box's way. She does it in a satisfactory way until she is exposed. Then one day Mr. Bucks comes early, early in the room, early into the room because his employer lets him a holiday, gives him a holiday. We know the quarrel, the quarrel over breakfast is also physical. They they threw away they threw away each other's breakfast items out of the window. We burst into peals of laughter at the remarks of Mr. Cox, the quarrel over breakfast things and other funny situations. Uh, this question discuss Box and Cox as a force. You know, dear students, a farce is a cheap type of comedy. It is full of fun. A farce is generally full of exaggeration. The characters in a farce usually get involved in ridiculous and unlikely situations. You know the play is a farce from the beginning to end. It is really farcical that the two men should be the lodgers of the same room and they don't know about it. It is a very unlikely situation. You know, Cox is a very funny man. Ah, he wants us to take a vow that he will never get his hair cut again. He says the barber has almost moused his head. Ah, he has got a militia cut. He also complains about his pillow in a physical way. He tells Mrs. Bonser that he needs a bigger or heavier pillow. Before leaving for work, he puts on a hat which does not fit his head. He complains he complains about the consumption of coal, candles, wood, sugar, and etc. He adds that it is not even the cats who consume these things. This remark is very funny. He complains about his apartment being full of tobacco smoke. Though Mrs. Bouncer tries to explain, but he does not get satisfied. Caucus then remarks that this gentleman's smoke comes in opposite direction, goes in a contrary direction. Mrs. Bouncer keeps two lodgers in the same room. She befuddles them, but one day she gets exposed. Also, the quarrel over breakfast is also physical. Mrs. Bouncer apologizes for being a bit greedy, and this brings the play to a close. Oh, this close and is also physical. Now, dear students, let us see two instances of hyperbole in Bucks and Cox. Bucks and Cox is a false. It is full of exaggeration. You know, hyperbole is a way of speaking or writing that makes someone sound bigger, better, more than they actually are. You know, it is a hyperbole to say that two tenants are lodgers of the same room. Caucus takes a vow that he will never have his hair cut. This is also hyperbole. He says the barber has almost moved his head. His complaint about the consumption of coal is also hyperbole. So these are instances of hyperbole from this force or from this play. Now some objective type questions. Given simply the meaning of the following words. Mental peace, protuberant, lore, effluvia, or loin. Mental peace is a structure over a fireplace, you know, protuberant. Yes, it means sticking out or bulging, just like a convex lens. Lore, it is short form of Lord. Effluvia, it means smell. Or loinus, it means steal something or use it without permission. Yes, what sort of writing is? What sort of writing is John Madison Morton famous? Yes, really for forces. What sort of play is Box and Cox? Yes, dear students, you know it is a farce. You are right. You are right. Now, now let us try to attempt an scene passage for comparison. Scene means which is from your textbook. Caucus, I have half a mind to register in oath that I will never have my hair cut again. His hair is very short. I look as if I had just been cropped for militia, and I was particularly emphatic in my instructions to the hairdresser, only to cut the ends off, only to and only to only to cut the ends off. He must have thought I meant the other ends. Never mind, I shan't meet anybody to care about so early. 8 o'clock, I declare I haven't a moment to lose. Now, dear students, let us try to attempt some questions that form the passage. Who is speaking these words and to whom? Oh, rightly, Caucus is speaking to Mrs. Bounce. What ode does Caucus wish to record? Oath, you know, it means wada or pledge. Ah, he wishes to record an oath that he will never cut his hair again. Third question. What kind of haircut has Caucus been given? Yes, he has been given a haircut which is suitable for army men, militia. How did the barber take the instructions of Caucus relating to the haircut? The barber misunderstood his instructions. He has cut both the ends of his hair. He has literally moved his hair as if grass is moved from a lawn. Yes, dear students, one more passage. There is nothing particularly remarkable about him except his hat. I met him in all sorts of hats, white hats and black hats, hats with broad brims, hats with narrow brims, hats with naps, hats without naps. In short, I have come to conclusion that he must be individually professionally estated with a heading interest. Yes, yes, students. Question number one is guess the name of the chapter and writer. Oh, you are right. The name of the chapter is Box and Cox. Yes, it is written by John Madison Morton. Describe different kinds of hats. Yes, there are white hats, black hats, hats with broad brims, hats with narrow brims, hats with naps, hats without naps. What is remarkable about him? Oh, his hats are remarkable about. And up first line, there is nothing particularly remarkable about it except his hat. Yes, last question. What should be his profession? He is a hatter by profession. Yes, dear students, today it is enough. Uh, that is the end of our textbook. Now we will decide what we will do in next lesson.